Hey everyone, welcome back to the Inside the Show podcast with Ryan Show. I am so excited. I am so excited for this podcast to start, man. We are right in the middle of something great. I have a really special guest and someone I know personally and someone whose journey I feel like speaks for itself. He's a former Indiana Hoosier and arena football standout with, which was shocking to find out, 6,500 receiving yards. 130 touchdowns, first team all arena honors, and an Arena Bowl champion. And now, in my eyes, and probably the rest of the world, one of the top performance coaches in the region. But I think more importantly, he's someone who lives up to what he teaches: discipline, toughness, consistency, all those things. So CT, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Ryan, my absolute pleasure to be here, bro. I've loved following this journey. I loved helping you kind of along your own journey and being able to support your fitness pursuits and your coaching pursuits. So I thought this was just a great next step, man. And I'm stoked for you that you're doing a podcast. It's a hard thing to do. No, it's not easy. Like we've talked about before, you learn a lot about yourself and things you say and quirky things that you happen to do with yourself. But dude, this is awesome. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. It's a pleasure. So we're going to hop into the first segment of the podcast, which is what I like to call quote of the week. We do it every single podcast, and you just bring, something of wisdom that you've learned in the past week, something that you're taking knowledge from. So I got a pretty good one, I think. I picked it up from this book. It's called What is Man by Mark Twain. Really interesting. It's only like 90 pages. I'm in the middle of it now. I'm like, I don't know, page 60 or something. But it's this conversation between older man and a younger man. It's just dialogue, and he talks about how men can't originate real thought. It's really interesting and kind of mind-boggling to learn about this. And he even goes back to like Adam and Eve and how he didn't know what sin was, and he brought sin into the world because he was subjected to his own surroundings and the devil and all that. But I just went way too far into that. But here's the quote from that: "Courage is resistance to fear and mastery of fear, but not the absence of fear." I think that's so powerful, how we can just go through life and experience these things. And obviously we're going to be scared to do some of these things, these big challenges we have to face in our lives. And it's not the absence of fear. We're going to have these trials and tribulations in our life, and we have to go through them. But the fact that we go through them, we go through the fire, and we put ourselves out there and still go through the hard times, that it just like hit home for me. So I thought that was really powerful.
I think that's strong, man. You also think about I'd imagine if you ask anybody who's accomplished anything worth pursuing and accomplishing, they would tell you that at some point along the journey that there was a ton of fear, and that's what would have held them back from accomplishing the task. But going through the fear and facing the fear and understanding that 99% of the fear is up here, and once you get through it, it really opens your eyes to what you can ultimately have success in as you continue to push, like you're saying, through fear without the absence of. That's strong, man. I like that one.
Yeah, it's really cool. I know that you said you had two that you'd like to share, and I'm dying to hear it. So give it to me.
Yeah. So when you brought this question up, it's funny because you think, what season of my life am I in? What quotes maybe were powerful when I was younger that don't make much sense now? What quotes have I heard recently that I know I would connect to when I was younger, but not so much now? And so there are a couple of them that keep kind of cycling through my mind. And so I wanted to share two. One that hits home professionally, and then one that hits home a little more personally. So the professional quote here was, I heard a guy, Alex Hermosi, talk about, who's super, super big on social media, and everybody who is listening to podcasts, I'm sure has heard something from Alex Hermosi. But he said,
I know Alex. Yep.
I think he's great. And so I heard this quote recently and it hit home. And he said, "The single greatest skill that you can develop is being in a great mood in the absence of things to be in a great mood about." And I think about that professionally because I think it's our responsibility as performance coaches to provide the best hour of the day of the individual that we're working with. And I think it should be something that we strive to do as coaches and people in leadership positions, because we'll never know what happens the rest of the 23 hours a day in anybody else's life that we work with, unless we have a certain relationship with them where we have those conversations. But I know if I can provide the best 60 minutes of training and have that be the best 60 minutes of that individual's day, I know that the day's not going to get any worse when they leave. I know they'll be in a good mood. I know they'll be feeling good and grateful and happy. And if they can walk out of our facility feeling like that, then I know that they can accomplish more things that they'd be able to do in that positive mindset as opposed to the negative mindset. So it's something that I challenge our coaches to do all the time. They don't care. Our athletes don't care. Our adults don't care if you've had a tough day or what you're going through. Now, is it okay to feel feelings and express emotions? Yes, 100%. But you have to understand that when people are paying for your service and paying to be around you, that you have to try your best to put on that face to bring the best version of yourself possible. And I think that's so important, because even if you lead with that, then everything else falls into place.
I love that.
So
Have you seen, sorry to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
Have you seen, there's a quote from Kobe Bryant. He talks about always trying to perform at his highest level, and it's not even for his sake. He's like, I could be inspiring like the next me. I could be inspiring kids that want to see me play. So I don't know, you brought that to mind, where even though, like, he even said he was struggling with like a back spasms at the time. He was coming back from an ankle injury. He's like, I'm still going to play through these things. I mean, he played with the flu just like Michael Jordan did. I mean, he would go through these things. He's like, doesn't matter how I feel. It's how the kids feel. It's how other people paid their hard-earned money to see me play and perform. I
So
don't know. You,
important, man. And that's
yeah,
one of the reasons why, if you're grounded in that energy, then that's going to allow you to go out and play your best ball every night. And that's a long season, man. 82 games.
mhm,
They didn't rest as much as they do now. These guys are playing a lot of basketball, and he's shooting a lot of shots and taking a beating. And so to understand that he comes in through that mindset and he's one of the greatest of all time, I think it's an important thing for athletes coming up to always consider.
yeah, for sure. Quick side topic before we get into your second one. Who do you like better? I know you're from Indiana, but do you have like a Kobe LeBron kind of scenario, Michael or LeBron? Who are you gravitating to?
Yes. So I think the greatest athlete of all time has been somebody I've looked up to since I started watching sports. The reason I think I now am a tattoo collector as
Mhm.
well started with this guy. And to me, the greatest entertainer, the greatest basketball player of all time is Allen Iverson, former
Okay,
point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers.
love that.
I think
Okay.
he changed the game. What you see now, you wouldn't have seen without an Allen Iverson. You have these John
Mm,
Morants, you have James Hardens, you have Steph Curry's, and all of these guys. Even Giannis Antetokounmpo said the reason he started playing basketball was because a guy like Allen Iverson. So he says Kobe and MJ are his goats.
mhm.
And if it came down to me, MJ, LeBron, Kobe, I would have to go with MJ. I just the things that he did in the era he was playing, and even to retire and come back. And I saw this statistic recently that he averaged something like 29 points on the Wizards at 41 years old. But nobody realizes that because they weren't winning many games. But I mean, the guy was carrying an NBA team that he also was part owner in,
Right.
carrying them at 41 years old.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's like, and again, LeBron's doing an amazing job, but just
Mhm.
to the era that MJ was playing in, I think was the greatest era of
Yeah.
basketball of all time.
I would say Kobe for me, but I love Magic Johnson and how he played. Like,
Yeah.
my dad is a big Magic Johnson fan. The Larry Bird rivalry, that was always the great time in the '80s. I love those.
You can't
But
go wrong with any of those.
yeah,
I mean, you're going to be right either way.
yeah. I love Allen Iverson though. He's a beast.
Yeah. I mean, I have so much stuff up. I mean, you're right. There's stuff up here. There's stuff in my home gym. I
That's
have
so
stuff
cool.
everywhere, dude. Yeah. So that's my goat right there.
Cool. Awesome. What is your second quote? There's a
So the
two-peacer,
second
right?
quote, bit more personal. So,
Okay.
and I think this is strong, and this fits wherever you're at in life.
Mhm.
And it's better to be a warrior in a garden than it is to be a gardener in a war. And I don't know if you've heard that one before, but
Sounds familiar, but could you elaborate?
how that connects to me is, like I said, no matter where we're at, no matter what we're doing, no matter where we're at in our life, what season, there's always a storm coming. And the storm might be rain, it might be snow, but it also might be a breakup. It might be losing money. It might be losing a family member. It might be losing somebody close to you. And the only way that you can get through the storm is to prepare for the storm. So it's something I think about all the time, whether it's physically just being capable enough to literally be prepared for anything. If you've got to pick up something heavy off the ground, if you've got to put something up over your head, if you've got to be able to sprint, jump, change direction, roll, crawl, throw, do all of these things, I think you need to be capable enough to do that, but also emotionally, spiritually, you've got to be prepared for the worst things to happen because at 38 years old, I know the worst thing to ever happen to me is still coming. At 20 years old, no matter what you've been through, the worst thing to happen is still coming. And as long as we understand that a flood is coming, a storm is coming, and that we need to be prepared for it, I think that allows us to then be able to get through anything that comes our way. If we're caught off guard by something like that and we react emotionally and not logically, we are likely to make the wrong decision in those moments. But if we're
Mm.
prepared and we're capable and we understand that something like that is coming, then it will help us process what's going on, allow us to react logically, and continue to move forward from there.
I love that. Is that I've seen your Instagram, I've seen you preach about the athletic dad. Is that kinda
Yeah.
where that come from? Is that where that
So
comes
it's
from?
it's it's definitely it's definitely a principle is being capable. And so I talk about that a lot with dads. And what I recognized was, and it's so easy and it's natural for when you have a child born, you immediately all of your selfish and self-fulfilling priorities get dropped to the very bottom of the list. The number 1, the number 2, the number 3, it's your child. It's providing for your child, it's giving them what you never had, it's being present, it's being supportive, and it's supporting your wife and making sure that the family unit is still solid because it's a hard thing to do, is to raise a baby and keep a baby alive and then figure out between you and your wife what's important. What do we need to prioritize? What are the things that you need? What are the things that I need as a husband, as a partner, as a friend? It's the battle. What happens is with that, with our priorities dropping down the list, is that a lot of times the first thing that dads put by the wayside is their own physical capabilities and their training and being committed to something that is challenging outside of already one of the most challenging things that you can go through. And it's simple and I get it. And when I was younger, it was so easy to try to preach to those people. What do you mean you can't get up at 5 a.m. and train? What do you mean when you get home from work? And it's so easy to say that, but then once you're actually put in the position,
Mhm.
it's such a different thing to learn. It's like saying I'm a patient person and then never getting put in a situation to challenge your patience.
Right, yeah.
So here it's, yeah, I'm a dedicated person. I train. I am consistent. I am dedicated to physical pursuits. And you become a father and it's like, never mind. I don't care about any of that.
Mhm.
I care about my baby. So the first thing that I'm trying to get across to dads is how important it is to be capable because the flood will eventually come.
Yeah.
And what does that look like to you? Again, is it money? Is it physical? Is it relationship issues? Whatever it is, you have to be prepared for that because emotional, snap, reactive thinking is not the best way to raise a child. It's not the best way to live. It's not the best way to find and create the best version of yourself. So I think you start by physically training yourself and becoming capable of being able to do things that you could do when you were 20, that you were 30 as you continue to age, because not only is that beneficial for you, but you get to lay the foundation for what your family is going to do moving forward.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's so tough when you see parents let that go because the kids are watching. Even my my baby's 1 year old and she's just starting to walk. She's crawling all over the place. She's making noises, but she will repeat things that mom and I say at 1 year old. So to think that she's not going to watch the activities we do and how we carry ourselves and how we work ourselves through the day would be a complete lie. So understanding that, I need her to know that her mom and dad are capable of protecting her and make healthy choices and are disciplined and are accountable and stick to their word. And we need to start doing that now. So by the time that she starts to recognize it, it's not already too late and we try to make changes. So it's
Mm.
important for us to lead by example, even with the younger baby, because we know she'll continue to watch us growing up. And I think that's so important for dads to remember because it's so easy to forget.
Yeah. That's
So,
wow, you're stealing the show from me here, dude.
well,
It's okay.
I want to make sure I bring you something
No,
good,
no,
and
no,
your listeners
absolutely.
something good.
This is why I wanted to have you on because we've had such meaningful conversations already in person, and I'm like, "Man, I gotta get this guy on. He's got so many great ideas. I love your training philosophy. I love just the way you live your life. Honestly, I'm astounded by you at sometimes. You inspired me to even start this podcast because I even listen to your podcasts and stuff like that. So I think I love the representation you talked about with your daughter. I mean, my dad always stresses like, "Hey, like I'm always watching you." Like, even though, I'm older than your daughter, obviously, but my dad is like, "Hey, like I'm always watching you and what you do." And I'm trying to see you become a better man than I was or am. So I love how you're trying to set an example early for your daughter. And such an amazing thing, man. I mean, your training philosophy, your way of life, I will not only be instilled in your daughter and in your kids, it'll just shine this whole light on your family, I feel. And other people are going to see that. And your daughter's going to adapt all of these traits that you have. And that's the most important part is to be an accurate, representation of
Yeah.
what your family stands for.
Thank you, and everything you said, that's so kind. I so much appreciate that, and I've made so many mistakes along the way that I want to be able to help people in your situation and other coaches that we have on staff and other people that follow our stuff on Instagram and online is I want to be able to help them make less mistakes, even though making mistakes are what ultimately make you the person that you're supposed to become. Like we talked about, you've got to go through the fear. You've got to go through these things. But I just I've had such incredible role models. I mean, I don't think I've gone a podcast of my own or as a guest without talking about how strong my family unit was growing up. My mom and dad just unbelievably unselfish human beings. My sister is my hero. She's the best human being I know. And so I had heroes literally living in my house for years. And so I would just pick up what they did. Like you said, dad's always watching. I would pick up what he would do, what mom would do, how my dad would respond in certain situations, how my sister would act when she introduced me to her older and cooler friends, and me being the young, annoying brother. Like she could have, and I've seen it thousands of times,
Mhm.
brushed me off to the side and said, he's just my dopey little brother. He's just sorry he's in the way. But it was never that. It was always, she always had so much love for me and always made
Mm.
me feel included and made me feel special. And my parents are the same way. And I've just been so lucky to have that. And I understand that not everybody is blessed with that, the unit that I had. And so I'm just trying to pass on what I've learned throughout this entire process and hope that I can just help put somebody just a little closer to the right direction. And so I appreciate you so much by recognizing that.
Yeah. Would you say now we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I wanna get back into kinda you and your background and your transition between player and then coach, but I wanna ask you this question. Do you think that is one of your purposes or in your life? Do you think that is your sole purpose is to carry on your family legacy into the next generation? Do you think what kinda stands out to you there? I mean.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to try to navigate that question through meditation, through
Mhm,
effort and hard work, and through therapy, things like that of trying to figure out is what do I want? Like, what is the thing that gets me up out of bed to go pursue more than anything I've ever pursued? And it's a really hard question because, again, we talked about phases. I've been through different phases in my life, and at times those priorities have been much different. At one point my priority was to be the best professional arena football player on the planet. And so there are some things that I had to do in my personal life that were different because my focus and my priority was being an athlete. And then transit, like you said, we'll talk about transitioning, to coaching and into family life and all that stuff. But I didn't know actually my true purpose until my daughter was born.
mhm.
And I'm sure I'm not the only one who has that feeling. And again, even talking about this kind of stuff just chokes me up because she's just so important and she's been such an incredible piece of my life that I never thought I needed, but turns out
Mhm.
it's the only thing I needed. And you couldn't have told me at your age that what I needed was a family, was to be married and have a daughter and raise my own family. I would have never believed you. But now that has obviously shifted my purpose. But what I learned from my family very early on is how powerful the act of being kind can be. And my parents are incredibly kind and giving, and they're always hosting events, and they're always giving more than they're receiving and never asking for anything in return. And my sister has shown me the same thing, just incredible levels of unselfishness that I think other people would look at and think, "Well, how easy would it be to then I give you this, now I get that?" Like there's something reciprocal in nature. And they're not looking for that at all and never have. So I've always tried to be kind to everybody I meet.
Mhm.
And that has helped not only me fill up a certain space in my heart, and in my life that I absolutely need, but it also, I think, helped me connect with other people who maybe at other times or in other situations I wouldn't have had the opportunity to connect with. And so I think that is where it started, was just I wanted to be as kind as possible. And I have many stories from my playing career that put me in the background and put what I needed not front facing, which I think at the time was not necessarily the best thing for me. Maybe I should have been more selfish. Maybe I should have been less of a team player. Maybe I should have stood up for myself, but I didn't. But in those moments, I felt that making the right decision with my heart and leading with kindness was the right thing to do. And still to this day, when we opened our facility 2.5 years ago, and I was working with our now facility manager, Preston, and we
Mhm.
were going through certain situations, certain sales processes. What if this comes up? What if this comes up? And what I told him was, and this is how I make every decision, but what I told him was, if you make the decision based off of what your heart feels like is the right thing to do, it will always be the right decision.
Mm.
So early on, we end up giving away training. Is that the right decision for the
Business, probably
finance
not.
advisor? And they come up and they're like, "Bro, what are these numbers?" Right?
Mhm.
No, it's definitely not the right decision for them. They would tell us not to do it that way, right? Or something super cheap, and then people end up taking advantage of it. And see, you set yourself up. You made it so cheap, now they took advantage of you. But all of that stuff is you continue to just stack reps. What's the right decision in my heart? Grounded in kindness, grounded in attitude. What is the right decision for this? That will more often than not, and has yet to lead to something overwhelmingly negative, but it
Mhm.
always puts us in the right direction. So every decision we make based around the business and based around training and based around coaching and conversations is what makes your heart feel good and what is the right thing in your heart to do. And from there, everything else will fall.
Yeah. It's almost like people say trust your gut, but it's almost like trust your heart.
Yeah.
Trust what your deepest desire what's gonna make you happy, what's gonna make your heart happy, not your gut. Because sometimes your gut can be wrong.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And that's exactly what I was going to say, right?
yeah.
Somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I want a discount on training." Your gut might just say, "Okay, well, I don't want to do that because that devalues our training." So if you think I'm just giving discounts, my gut says, "No, that's a bad idea. I'm not going to do that because I want to hold this certain standard of our training." But if the conversation is, and this has happened and again, dude, these moments stick out so vividly and just like make me emotional. So I
No,
apologize
you're okay.
for bringing that to it. But we have an athlete who has trained in multiple facilities, is kind of an outcast, has transferred schools multiple places, is doing an orientation, going through our first session. And I go out and sit with mom afterwards. The athlete's going to the bathroom or changing or something. And mom says, "Watching you guys from the second floor, every time you turned around, I know you didn't see it, CT, but every time you turned around, he looked up and he gave me a big smile and a thumbs up." She said, "I've never seen him so happy in training." And I was like, "Dude, I was just going to talk about your son's ground reactive force." But it turns out that you don't want to talk that doesn't mean anything to you. Right. And so we get into that conversation and I learn more about them and we spend more time with them. And the pricing was not feasible for them to be able to achieve, which is totally fine. And I totally understand. And so we said, well, let's make this happen. And then if it ever gets to a point where you feel as though you're comfortable supporting us monetarily, great. But if not, I know what I can provide for your son and the help that we can have for him. And
Yeah.
as long as that guides him in the right direction, then I'm okay with him not having to pay any money or not having to pay what everybody else has to pay. There are things like that that come up all the time that I think if you trust your gut, it'll put you in the wrong direction. But if you trust your heart, it'll keep you guided down the right path.
I love that. I love that story. That's like all you could ask for right there.
That's all
Just
you
that
can
one
ask for.
comment. Yeah.
And again, we get caught up with tracking metrics and seeing these numbers and talking about how high the athlete's ceiling is and how fast we can get them and how quick we can get them to run their 5-10-5 next time they have a combine. But rarely are we in our facility asking about what we think our service that we're providing, what value does it bring to this kid's life outside of the weight room?
Like what impact? Yeah.
What impact can a coaching cue that I give him make him respond to his mom more kindly next time she gets upset with him? Can there something that we do in training? Can I have an impact to the point where somebody's getting picked on at school and this kid steps up and stands up for the kid who's getting picked on? We have the ability to do that and to change people's lives at such a higher level than improving their 40 time. That doesn't sell memberships. And that doesn't sell training. But if I can get your bench press from 185 to 225, what amount of money are parents willing to pay for that to happen?
Yeah.
Anything. Yeah, here's a
Right.
blank check. Whatever it takes. And it's a bit of a, this is a bit of a metaphor. It's not exactly specifically that.
Yeah.
But if I can get a kid who walks in to the gym with a hood on and long sleeves on and trains like that for 6 months because he's embarrassed the way his arms look in a t-shirt. And then one day he walks in and he's got a cut off sleeve t-shirt on and we notice it and we say, hey bro, arms look good. What's that going to do for his confidence? Is he going to go up to the girl that he's been scared to go up to for the last 6 months and ask her out?
Maybe, man.
Is he going to
Maybe.
actually look at the person reflecting him in the mirror and flex and smile?
Yeah.
There's just so much depth to it. And early on in training, I was only concerned about those KPIs and those numbers and those sets and reps. And now I don't even think about, they literally could not matter less to me because it doesn't mean anything. And anybody can get a kid strong. Anybody can get a kid fast. Anybody can rehab an athlete from a knee injury. But what are you making them feel to help improve their life once they leave you? And that's my approach. And I also think it's one of my talents, one of my skills is that I've had so many of these conversations that I feel like I can figure those things out and be able to help provide those. And that makes me feel way better than watching a kid hit a deadlift PR for sure.
No, for sure. It's almost like you're instilling your mentorship. I wish that when I was in high school, like we went through 3 different head strength and conditioning coaches. None of them, in my opinion, were great because they got me strong, sure, but I had no connection to them whatsoever. The most I had of a connection to them, we had Coach Coley was my strength and conditioning coach, and I played basketball sophomore year, and I was like, hey, I want to be bigger and stronger because I'm getting shoved around and I'm 130 pound, 5'7" kid, pretty tiny. I'm getting shoved around, whatever. And I'm like, hey, can I just come in and lift by myself? And he's like, yeah, I don't care. Like he didn't, no disrespect to Coach Coley, but I think personally, he could have been a little more, he was very team oriented, but not connective, if that makes sense. Great strength coach, don't get me wrong, but there was no personal connection with any of the strength coaches at Solon. But yeah, I think that's so important. What you guys instill at T3 is amazing. I walked in there the first time, I'm like, yeah, I could get used to this. This is pretty badass. This is pretty badass. So yeah, I love that. You see it on all the athletes' faces when they walk out. They're excited to come in. They're not excited to leave. Some of them are because they just want to go home and eat food.
Yeah, and hopefully
whatever.
they've worked hard enough to where they're like, all right, I got to get out of here, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You can be excited to leave for sure.
But I think for me is like when I interned with you guys and then coming back for this second internship because my other internship didn't work out, but coming back, you have athletes that I trained say, "Oh my god, you're back. I love that. Let's go." And they're excited to train with me, and it's one of the best feelings in the world. And when they smile, it's like this light, this aura comes around me, and I'm like, This couldn't be better. This is all I could ask for." So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's done intentionally. It's not by mistake. It's something we talk about all the time and something we're working with our coaches on all the time. Because again, that's what I think is a priority. And I think that's the important part. And the other thing is, I think when you say you guys at T3, I think you should say we at T3, us at
Mhm.
T3. I mean, you are a valuable part of the team. And so you should say we. You shouldn't say you because you're a part of it. But it's all done intentionally. And it doesn't, the thing is, when you mention the high school, they don't get hired based on their ability to connect with athletes.
Yeah.
So why do I feel as though it is a part of my role as let's say a new hire? Because you said you went through 3,
Mhm.
right? So they've got to, obviously there's some turnover. So somebody's going to come in. They're either going to get another job and move on, or they're going to not do a great job. So they're going to pick somebody else. So there's some turnover, right? Let's say I'm the 3rd strength coach who comes in and you've gone through 3 strength coaches in 3 years. I'm going to prove to you that I know what I'm doing in strength and conditioning, and I make your athletes bigger, faster, and stronger. That's
Mhm.
what you hired me for.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the other approach until I had proven over and over and over again that my training philosophies work to improve athletes' athletic outputs.
Mm.
So once you prove that, then you can start looking at some other things. But I think if you leverage the emotional, connective, woo-woo-y, everybody love everybody side too much and don't get any outcome, then they're going to say, well, this isn't the way to do it. Let's get a strength guy. Let's get a
Yeah.
strength coach guy. Let's get a guy who's going to squat, bench, and deadlift him.
Exactly
So
what we did. So, yeah.
it sounds exactly right. But once I got confident in being able to prove out that the philosophies that I have work on the training end, then it made it so much easier to dive into everything else because I knew what I was programming and what I was writing and how I was coaching was going to work. So then the next challenge for me was, okay, what's the next level of mastery to this? Anybody can write a great program. Okay, but what does the next best coach do? Okay, have an impact probably on the individual. I think about the best coach I've ever had. Okay, I was connected to him. He was a great coach because I had a great connection with him. What were some of the things that he did? Okay, well, let me try that, but not on the field in the weight room. And so those are the memorable things, and those are they're why athletes will come back to you and say, "Oh my gosh, dude, you're back," because there was something you did that made an impact on them that had nothing to do with the amount of weight that was on the bar.
Mm.
It had more with how you made them feel, and that's why that feeling and emotion can come back to them so quick. Oh my gosh, Coach Ryan, that's right. I feel like this when I see Coach Ryan, and that's when you know you're really going down the right path.
I made it.
Yeah, and that's it, dude. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. All right. So, we just ranted real good, but I love it. I love ranting. I love the conversation we're having already. It's amazing, but I wanna kinda backtrack it a little bit, go back
For sure.
into your background because I did some research on you before we did this. So you grew up in Indiana. It said, according to Google, I'm not gonna lie, I looked this up on Google.
For sure.
Senior year, you had 45 catches for about 900 yards and 12 touchdowns. So my question to you is, obviously you were a star athlete, clearly. You can see it. But when did football become more of a sport to you? Because I know you went on to the collegiate level and then professional. So
Yeah.
how did that kind of not taper off, but like excel you forward, and kind of how did how did it make you feel when it was kind of like your job almost?
So you're interested in when it basically went from play and fun in high school to when it became a job and a career, what that transition was like. Loved all sports growing up and was athletic enough to be able to be put into and have success with a decent amount of sports. And so going into high school, I didn't know that football could eventually be my job, but what I did know is that it wouldn't hurt if I pursued football at that level.
Mm, okay.
So I could look at football and say, okay, I have 4 more years left to play in high school, make the best of it, and have that be an amazing experience. And that's what a lot of people's experience is. But I thought, okay, there's no way I would be able to achieve any more than that unless I tried. So why don't I just try? And I had a coach my freshman year when I was I was kind of a late grower, and I was a scrawny little freshman. And during training camp, he just came up to, and I don't know what prompted him to do it. Steve Reed was his name. In the locker room, waiting between two-a-days. Again, no reason to come. I didn't do anything fascinating. I wasn't the fastest on the team. There was nothing that I was doing at the time that was standing out early on in training camp. And he said, "Hey man, I think if you work hard enough, you can be one of the best players to ever come through this school." And I was like,
Dang.
"Whoa." First of all, a lot of pressure to put on to put on like a
Put on a
kid in his
freshman,
first week of
yeah,
high
right.
school. Yeah, I'm freshman. But I thought, oh, that's a really interesting thing to say. Maybe it's a thing that Coach Reed says to every freshman wide receiver who comes in, hoping that one of them ends up being a good player, right? Maybe that's what he does. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a good
I
point.
never asked him, but he said that to me, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And so I went on and had a good freshman year, and as a sophomore, had an opportunity to play a little bit of varsity, but wasn't big enough, wasn't strong enough. Really would have had no business playing varsity football, but by the time I was a junior, my sister had spent 2 years at Indiana University on the track team. She was a shot and disc thrower and really talented in high school, set high school records at the same high school I went to, Carmel. And then she went to Indiana. And so I spent the next couple springs going to Bloomington and going to track meets. And I just really fell in love with the city and the culture and the feeling of this college town. And I knew my grandfather and my great uncle had both gone to Indiana. And so I had heard about the Hoosiers, and we've supported the Hoosiers growing up a little bit. And like I said, sister being my hero, I always wanted to kind of follow in the path that she laid out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into my junior year, I had a conversation with my best friend, who was my best friend at my wedding a couple years ago. We still, again, my dearest friend since that time. We were freshmen in high school. And I remember him asking me, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with this? And I said, man, my sister Jackie's playing sports in college. I think that would be a really cool thing. And he said, all right, what do you think guys who play football in college do? I thought, geez, well, they probably have at least good enough grades to get into college. Okay, so let's start there, right? Like maybe start
Right.
focusing on studies a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, I bet they train more than everybody else trains. And he goes, yeah, I think that's a good idea. That week, he started picking me up at 5 a.m. and we would drive to the high school and we would lift. And we would lift from 5:30 to 6:30, and then we get ready at 7, and we go out at 7, and I think like our first bell was at 7:20 or something like that. And then we would have a class where we would lift, and then so we would lift again then, and then come back and do it the next day, and then just like got in that cadence. And he was good, dude. I don't know how he did it, but we would, as I started having some success, we would look at the newspaper the next Saturday morning. And it would say, all right, we'd look at the top receivers, and I would be let's say number 6. I was like, oh, all right, 6th best in the state last week. Like maybe if we train harder, if we stay after practice a little longer, if we watch a little more film, maybe that will move me up to number 5, and then have another good game and then next Saturday. And then as that progressed, this is kind of a long-winded response to get to your specific question. But as that progressed, I started seeing the people above me getting college scholarships.
Mm.
So I thought, oh, I'm 2 or 3 spots away from getting a college scholarship. And then that's actually when it kind of became real. So I knew going into my senior year that I was going to have a pretty big breakout season to then go to my dream school, Indiana, to play college football. Had a great team and had good success. Like you read off the stats. I mean, good enough to get recognized by teams. So started going on visits, D3, D2, couple little D1s here and there, and then I got a call from Indiana and kind of dropped all my other scholarship offers, and then eventually ended up walking on at Indiana. But again, then when it came to that, when I got there at Indiana, that's where we said it literally goes from just being fun and play and a good time to being a job. And I went through every high and low that you could imagine. I mean, my first training camp, I was player 105. I was the last one to be invited to training camp, so I didn't have a roommate. So when people were spending time talking and building relationships with their teammates and their roommates, I wasn't doing that. I was at home on the phone with my mom.
Mm.
And I remember my brother-in-law saying to me after that training camp, he said, we all thought at home that you must have been having a really bad time if you were calling home from college every night. And it's just like in the dumps, dude, last dude on the depth chart. Didn't think I was going to make it. And then, fast forward, ended up playing professionally and all that if we want to get into that. But the biggest thing for me was recognizing, okay, the only way I can get there is if I put the work to be able to get there. And then I got to the place that I said I wanted to get to. But then again, being the 105th guy out of 105, if anybody's getting cut, it's me. I'm the first one. So I had to prove every single day that I went out there on the practice field that I'm worth not cutting and keeping for one more day. And if I could
Okay.
stay on the team one more day, it would give me an opportunity to show one more day of what I could do to try to change somebody's mind to move to 104. And if I stayed that extra day, and if I stayed that extra month, and if I stayed 6 more months, that I knew, because that was the pursuit, that was the passion at the time, that there was nothing I was willing to do, not willing to do to get it. And I knew I just need to stay one more day and I'll prove somebody wrong. One more day and I'll prove somebody wrong. And I continued to do that until I beat out a 5-star number 1 recruit in the 2008 recruiting class who came to play safety. I beat him out at safety as a walk-on receiver turned safety and started my last season over him.
Man, it's like almost first one in, last one out is what I'm hearing your mindset was. Because the second thing I was going to ask you is like, what kind of habits and discipline did you have to do to consistently perform at that level? But I feel like you just answered that in that kind of 2-part question I asked you there.
Yeah.
I
well,
mean,
and real quick, Ryan, you talk about fear. I was scared every day I went to that stadium because I didn't even have to be the one who screwed up. Somebody else could have screwed up, and then to prove a point, I would have been the one cut. They didn't spend any money on me. I was not a scholarship player. They had no skin in the game. What if another dude showed up in the middle of the day and ran a 4.240, and they're like, let's give this guy a shot who we know nothing about because he runs a 4.2? I would have been the one cut. I was scared out of my mind every day that I showed up at that stadium that I was going to get cut.
yeah, but you had the courage to show up every single day and continuously put that work in. So going back to that quote, it's almost like you have this insane discipline to show up, because I know from experience that in training camp, kids quit on the first day. We had several kids quit on the first day. I mean, because they said it was quote unquote too hard. I'm like, well, 2 days, we've been through that in high school. We've been through that.
Yeah.
So just the fact that you're showing up, that's step number 1. Step number 2 is continuously showing up, which you did, and you had the courage to do.
Yeah, and we saw those people. And when it happened again, the first thing I thought was, well, that's such a bummer that it didn't work out for this guy. But I thought, that makes me 104. You know, I'm one step closer. I'm one step closer. And then I just got obsessed with it, man. It was the only thing that mattered. It was the thing that I got up out of bed to do. It was the reason why I stayed up late. It was the reason I watched it. It was the reason I ate. Everything I ate was to look a certain way and feel a certain way in the weight room to then get onto the field. And I think now, looking back on it, and as I'm continuing to pursue things worth pursuing, I don't think I have a very healthy relationship with work.
Would you say you're a workaholic? But I mean, I know you have a family now, but because of your background in sports, would you say you're kind of a workaholic? Because I'm kind of like that too. I get it, but would you say you're kind of like that?
I just, there are times where I should tell myself to stop and back off, and this is not that important, that you're going too hard, but I just can't get myself to do that. And that has been instilled in me through sports and the path that I chose to pursue. And again, I think now, especially in a time where nobody wants to work, I think being a workaholic makes you super valuable. And you're going to get a job over 99% of the people if you are just willing to show up to work, like you said, consistently. It's so easy to win now. It's like all you have to do is the bare minimum. But that's why people who work harder tend to move themselves up the ladder, accelerate their ascent faster, because people recognize that. People recognize when people are willing to work. And so I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but I think there are times in my life where I do need to step back and prioritize other things and tell myself that this can wait. And I've gotten much better. Like you mentioned, since August was born, I've gotten much better at that. Being present, because that's a dad's job, and a dad's duty is to be present with their child. And nothing will stop me from being that. So I've been better at getting away from that away from those things. But I'm not saying it's the best way to achieve anything by any means. I mean, rest is important, sleep is important, off days are
Mhm.
important. I just have gone through phases in my life where none of that has been a priority. And because of that, it's gotten me to the place that I've wanted to go.
Yeah. Going back to you mentioned this key word that I wanna touch on, you said obsessiveness. Would you say that you need to be obsessive in your kinda early stages of life? Because I would consider myself kinda in that same boat, obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go play pro football, but you know, I I'm very like a perfectionist. I have to have these things. I'm working really hard in school. I'm going after a degree. I'm going after maybe a PhD. I'm thinking things like that. I have this podcast. I lift weights. I do bodybuilding. So I'm
Yeah.
very much a perfectionist. I'm obsessed with working hard and being a workaholic. So and I understand to the point where you need to let people in your life. I'm trying to work on that too. But would you say at this point in my life or a younger person's life, do you think it's a good quality to have to be obsessed? A loaded question, I know.
I'm trying to think if there is a better quality to have than that. And without thinking about it for a very long time, I don't think there's a better quality that you can have than being obsessed with something and pursuing it like it's the only thing that matters. And will you turn away friends? Yes. Will you get significant others mad at you? Yes. Will you miss out on certain things that other people are doing that are fun and you're going to be bummed out that you're missing on? Absolutely yes. Pursuing things the way you are currently, you will not be able to look back and have any regrets about it. Because I missed, I do a, bodybuilding show. How long was the prep? 16 weeks?
No, it's
Did you have a
25,
long?
that's
Okay.
6 months. Yeah.
So how many things did you miss out in 6 months that people, dude, you should go to this, you should eat this. Oh, that's kind of great. Come on, dude, 30 extra carbs, no big deal, right? To people, these things are crazy.
Hmm.
That's why you know you need to continue to pursue them. And that's why you need to double down on those things. Because once you get people thinking that that is so unreasonable for anybody to do, that's when you realize you found something that separates you from the pack. And like we talked about, man, it is so easy to win. It's so easy to beat people. You just have to continue to do things that people are unwilling to do. And if anything, dude, you're going to have great stories. You look back in 15 years and have great stories that you can share on dates and in outings and times you get with your homies that people will not have because they haven't pursued anything worth pursuing.
Mm.
So I think what you're doing is exactly what you need to be doing.
Okay, so I can take a little bit of a
Does that make
breath.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes perfect
Dude,
sense. I don't know. I think I want to kind of transition here just to I actually found I feel like one of my purposes through T3. It's kind of the reason
awesome.
why I'm pursuing psychology now because I actually had a conversation with one of your athletes. I don't remember his name exactly. I'm pretty sure it's Brandon, but I haven't seen him in a while. I trained him back in summertime, like early summer.
Okay.
And he was struggling with an injury. He just had like some kind of like he broke his hand, I believe, and he healed from surgery, he got his cast off, and he was a baseball player. I think he was maybe 13. And we were just doing some agility drills and things like that. And then we played a game sort of where I had a tennis ball. It involved a tennis ball and throwing a tennis ball. I mean, he would throw it back to me and things of that nature while he was shuffling and some just little agility drills. And at first he was like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, okay. As a coach, I'm like a little offended. I'm like, okay, why?
Yeah.
And he said, he's like, I don't want to hurt my hand. I don't want to do anything with my hands. And talking to him more, it was less of what he was scared of doing and more of he was scared of letting his father down.
Mm.
He was scared of the fact that his dad, typical, he played baseball in college and he put his kid in travel baseball and there's a ton of pressure to get his kid better, to get his kid back to playing and getting back to a pretty high level. I mean, he was a pretty good kid for his age group of playing
Hmm.
baseball. And it was the pressure from his dad that was actually creating this sort of essence of fear that we talked about of like getting injured again, and he didn't want to actually let his dad down. He didn't want to get injured again because he feared his dad. And that right there, I was like, that is so interesting. And
Mm.
the awesome part is I actually got to talk to his dad about it. And I said, "Hey, he's feeling like crazy, crazy pressure from you. You might need to just," and that's crazy because you're usually supposed to tiptoe between that boundary and tell the parent of that kid that, but it's something that I had to say. So I told him, and the guy goes, "Thank you for telling me." Because and after I saw him maybe one or two other times, I think he had one of your packages where you come in and you train like maybe 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure how the packages work, but he was training here for baseball, and then he had a couple extra, like, training sessions with T3. But he came in the next time, he's like, "Hey, I feel a little bit better. Let's try uh, this drill that you wanted to do with the ball and the hand and the sliding back and forth." And he wanted to do it, and he's like, "I'm not afraid anymore." And that to
Mm.
me, it touched my soul, and it was like, I need to pursue something like this. So I think sports psychology for me is like, I gotta take this route. I gotta see how people react to these kind of things, and I wanna dive deeper into, like, the neuroscience, the brain, and just I wanna say dissect, but I want you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wanna help these kids. I wanna work with athletes that are going through an injury, going through a hard time, even dealing pressures with their parents, their outside factors, like, that to me, it touches my soul because 'cause I've been there. I've been there, and I've dealt with that. My dad was the same type of way, playing baseball at a very young age, and then basketball was even crazier because he played in high school and he played college and everything like that, so I get it. So that to me touched my soul, and that's why I'm thankful for the T3 experience because I would never ever have found ever have found my path, I feel like, through without T3. So,
Yeah, dude, thanks for telling that story. What did you learn as a young coach when you recognized that conversation?
what did I learn? I
Yeah, yeah.
think
What did you
I
learn
learned it
in kind of your approach?
I approached it in a way as if I was the kid. I was experiencing this sort of trauma, you could say it's a type of trauma almost, because it seemed like he had these pressures for a long time. I mean, he was 13, he said he was playing when he was 5, so he's been in baseball for X number of years already. So I was putting myself in the kid's shoes. That was my first thing. I'm like, "Okay, well, how would I feel if my coach told me to do something that I didn't wanna do because I was fearful of doing it?" We actually me and Sp I was just there last week with Spencer, and we were putting Gavin through a workout that he was not comfortable with doing. We had him do, like, sit-ups on the I forget what that machine's called, but it locks your legs in place and you go down and there's no support. So it's
Mm.
just
Yeah,
you're
yeah. The
doing
GH.
a f yeah, the full range, sit up, and
Yeah, those are
he thought
nasty.
he was gonna fall. He thought he
Yeah.
was gonna fall, and he was super uncomfortable with it, so Spencer was like, "Okay, I got you, like, I'm gonna put my hand on your back, you're not falling." Like, that kinda thing, right, where I put myself in the kid's shoes, I'm like, "Okay, well, where can I how would I feel if a coach made me do something I didn't wanna do?" And I didn't wanna be that bad guy, I didn't wanna be that coach. So, to me and I kinda have a soft spot for stuff like that, so, yeah, I couldn't bear the feeling of letting that kid down and then
Mhm.
adding more pressure on top of what he was already feeling. So,
Yeah.
I'd say what I learned is I feel like I unlocked a little bit of a more empathetic side to myself that I have not previously had because I'm people that know me, I'm more of a blunt person. I just kind of tell things like it is, especially during prep when I
Mhm.
wasn't eating much. I was just like, "Don't talk to me." I turned into Batman.
Yeah.
don't super dark and mysterious, but whatever. I'm known to be kind of blunt, but that to me kind of changed my whole philosophy in terms of just handling situations like that. It taught me a lot.
This field attracts those personality types too. So you have been guided in this direction, and it makes sense when you're saying, I am blunt, I am forward. When I'm going through all the discomfort of prep, I get nasty, I get angry. I mean, those type of people are in strength and conditioning. So it makes sense that you ended up here. But I think I think what you said too was super powerful because I like the frame of trying to figure out and trying to see the athletes that you're working with now as you were when you were that age. How would I want to be talked to? What would make an exciting training session for me? What movements would I like to do? And every day that we talk to these athletes, we're picking up data points, little tiny data points. If we're not asking any questions, we're not getting any data points. So we're asking, what are these things you like? How was the weekend? What do the holidays look like for you? Hey, we're gonna go around and say what your favorite holiday movie is. And each day you're trying to learn a little bit about them, a little bit about them. So they start to open up. They trust you. They start to open up. And then you can put yourself in that situation because it's not what we tend to see at the college and professional level. It's what the coach says goes. In the private sector where we're at, it doesn't matter if I have a great training program built out for an athlete. If they don't care about it or they're scared to do it or they are not interested in doing these movements, then it doesn't matter. They're just going to go somewhere else. And I then won't have the opportunity to leave an impact on them.
Mhm.
So for you to be able to get in that situation and then think, how would I be if I were that athlete going through the same thing? What would I hope a coach that would do for me? Maybe what I'm thinking is, I hope that coach goes up to my dad and says something, doesn't make me get in trouble, but says something so maybe he can reconsider the way that he's approaching it. And I think that's a great frame to take it from. And I think that's a great thing you did. I think it's the best thing you could have done.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing that at your age, but at my age, I'm the same age as most of the parents, if not a little younger, sometimes a little older. So I'll go up and say those things, and they always end up being positive because
Yeah.
the parent has to then face that they're actually doing that, even if they get upset about it. They're not upset at the kid; they're upset at themselves for portraying this avatar of themselves that they didn't want to be portrayed.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So I think what you did was a great thing, and also the fact that that will help you moving forward is also an awesome learning experience.
Mhm. Yeah, I was pretty scared to go up to him. I was like,
Yeah,
do
heck
I
yeah,
tell him? Do I tell him?" And I'm like, I can't." Like, my heart, we were just talking about it earlier, it was not a gut feeling, it was like, "My heart needs to tell you this. This
yes.
is gonna continue if I don't tell you this."
That is the
So
exact thing we were talking about. It's a great recall. That's exactly it. It's like guts like, I'll just hold on to it. Maybe next week it'll be different. Your heart
mhm.
is like, man, I have to say this. This is holding me heavy. I've got to get it off. And you got a great response.
That's what
So
it's all
happy you did
about.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Um, okay. Just to bring it like, reel it back on in here.
Yeah.
When the script was flipped, and we're talking about this idea of when you shifted to your college and professional career, and the shift from athlete to coach, and where you are now. Correct me if I'm wrong, you started at T3, was it 2017
2017. That's
At
exactly right.
Avon, and then you became the director of operations at T3. I don't know if it was in the same year,
Yep. So
but
we came over in June of 23.
okay,
So I was with the
okay,
company, what was that, in 6 years
okay,
before we opened up, and it's now been 2.5 years since then.
okay,
So my original role was actually offsite training director, where I would go to a school, become their strength and conditioning coach, set the culture, set the training, set the constant communication with the athletes and ads and coaches, and then get a school up and running. And then we'd hire other coaches, bring them in to replace me, and then I would go to another school and do that same
okay.
thing.
Interesting, okay.
And so the reason I got asked to then run our next facility is because I have a framework around building culture and what I think is important, what I think is not important, and how important it is to get people excited for training. But then also, like we talked about, the whole psychological piece and to be able to
Mhm,
share that information. I think it's all super important. And I was able to have some success with the offsite schools that we worked at. And so then got asked like, hey, can you do this but in one spot instead of 7 or 8? And I thought I can at least try.
yeah,
And so
right.
we've been able to do that. So that's how we ended up where we're at now.
Okay, so through that, like, 6 years of experience you had, what was it okay, let me ask you this. I have it written down here actually because it's just interesting to me. How do you flip your mindset from being, like, the learner to the learning and your to the teacher? How are you, was it gradual? Did you, like, wake up one day and just know it was time for the next chapter? Was there, like, a switch that went off in your head that, like, you kinda knew that you wanted to, be a coach, be a performance coach? Or because I know you were this amazing athlete, but how did you think to pursue sports and conditioning? Because you obviously liked it, you obviously liked the training piece, so how did you transition to that, and how did your training philosophy develop from being the athlete to the coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. I had a very lucky and different way that I got to training. Was while I was playing, I was fortunate enough to play for 6 months. So wherever we would play post college, I'd go out and play on an arena football team. We would live where we were at for 6 months, and then I would move home or I would move wherever for another 6 months until the next season came about. And it happens in the NFL, but most of the time people aren't going out and then pursuing other jobs. But with me, and I don't know how this started or why, and I've been thinking about this since we were talking about this podcast last week. But for some reason, when I started to have success in football, I never tied my identity to me as a football player. I
Interesting, okay.
just wanted to be a good person. It was helpful that I could play a sport that I loved, so it gave me a passion and a pursuit. But I never saw myself and carried all my identity as a football player. So when I would go in the off season, I needed to pick up jobs that I could do at any city because I was living in Iowa, I was living in Oklahoma City, I was living in Philly, I was in Cleveland and Tulsa and all these places. I wanted to find a job that I could do anywhere. I had a skill set from playing football, so teaching football or coaching football would be kind of the easy thing to do. But I also became the athlete and the player that I ultimately became because I was so dedicated to training. So I made the connection between I love exercise and how it makes me feel and how it made me look and how it helped me perform. But I also really like supporting other people in difficult pursuits. And the first time I helped somebody run a better route or catch balls better or understand a defense better, that gave me a similar feeling as it did to going out and catching a touchdown. So when I started coaching, it was this is what you're currently doing as a job. This is an easy transition to make. So I did it to just make some money and kind of fill some time. But I was hired as just a receiver coach, but then I was always so much interested, like we've talked about, like the psychological piece and understanding people's journeys and where they're at on that journey and trying to kind of connect it all, that I then was using what helped me be successful as an athlete in the training. So it was no longer just skills training. It was kind of this hybrid performance training, which like what we call now, like performance training, speed and strength and agility alongside skills training. And then I'd only had to do it for 6 months at a time. So when I left, and would go play another 6 months, I would have this experience of me as an athlete and training to be a better athlete and trying to be successful on the field as a player. And 6 months later, I missed doing the training with the athletes and helping other people do
Mm,
it. So what happens a lot in this field, I think we love it so much. We want to serve and provide value to other people so much that we never say no. We just train, 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 no matter whatever. 5 a.m. great, 9 p.m. great, noon great, Saturday, Sunday great, because you're trying to give all this value and you enjoy it so much that it's so much easier to burn out. I didn't have that experience because I went 6 months with it and then 6 months without it. So by the time I finished playing in 2020, we won the championship in 2019 out in Albany, New York, where I met my now wife. Before we moved back to Cleveland, when I knew this 2020 season wasn't coming back because of COVID, I had no problem transitioning into a full time coach because I had already done it so much and because I had detached my value from me as a football player. And I think what's hard with a lot of coaches and players is they want to say, this is what you need to do because this is what I did and this is what made me successful. And I
Yeah.
think that's what frustrates coaches. When I've talked to really good athletes who are coaches, it's like, why can't they get it? Like, why aren't they? It's like, because they're not you. Like, you, professional athlete who I'm talking to, friend of mine, they are not a professional athlete. It's going to be harder for them to learn these skills. You need to become a better coach to be able then teach them the fundamentals, to allow them to explore these movements enough to get more skilled and be better at it. But you were so good that you never had to go through this process. So it's
Yeah.
harder for you as a coach to be able to coach that. I put, like we said, an obsessive amount of work in training and reading magazines and talking to my dad and talking to my sister and stealing her training programs from college and doing all of these things that I learned how to become more athletic and how to be able to express speed and strength and agility differently. So then when it came to coaching it was easier. And I have an ego, but I didn't have an ego when it came to coaching because none of what I had done, I was able to prove yet. So I was obsessed with proving that this path and these philosophies that I've created work. And then when it started working, all I wanted to do was multiply the amount of people that I was working with. I don't ever look back on football and have any regrets or think about, oh man, if only this season I would have done this, because none of it matters now. None of it means anything to. It's great to look back and watch the videos and like I've got my jersey up here, and then right here is the jersey that my wife wore when she was a dancer for the
Shoot,
team.
nice.
So like I've got these next to. So it's like I have those memories, but I don't go back and think, gosh, man, if I just would have caught that touchdown pass against whatever, because I'm so removed from it now, and I never was wrapped up in my identity as that. And again, it's so hard to do. I don't know what it was, probably, again, something in my upbringing that allowed me to do that, but it
Mhm.
wasn't hard because when I wasn't playing, I wasn't CT, the wide receiver for the Cleveland Gladiators. Like, I was Coach CT trying to help this kid be the best he can.
Mm,
And then you
okay.
stack enough of those wins, and that's the thing that becomes important. So it was a simpler transition for me because I got to go without it for a while and I got to miss it. So when I came back, I was excited to do it. And then just once you see success and once individuals start telling you, this is the most important thing I've ever done. I have adults come up and say, this is the best personal decision I've ever made in my life to help
Wow,
myself.
that's huge.
And it's like, why would I ever stop?
Yeah.
So now I'm at a point where I'm still incredibly driven to help individuals have success because these people are starting to see after 2.5 years, oh my God, the massive change that I've had
Yeah.
as an individual. And then that's what keeps me going.
Whew! That is that's amazing. I see, like, all the Instagram stuff that T3 posts, like, especially the ones on Beachwood, where their parents or older people, like, I don't know, is it in the morning that you guys have those older people come in and they train? What session is that called?
Yeah. So that's our Strength for Life group.
Okay.
And those are basically their testimonials. I call them like video
Yeah.
testimonials, social proof. A lot of people use it on social media for social proof. Hey, we do the thing that we say we do.
Mhm.
But that started, sorry, I know you're going to ask a question about it.
No, no, you're okay. I would
But
just yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and so it started because I had an individual come up to me after being with us for a year, and he said, CT, I don't want to take up a ton of your time, as if what he was going to say was not important. And I said, oh, no problem. What's going on? And he said, just had another meeting with my doctor. Months ago, he said I was going to need a double knee replacement. After this meeting, he said, I don't know what you've been doing, but you need to keep doing it because you no longer need a knee replacement. And then he said, okay, go back to doing whatever you were doing. And I go, hold on a second.
It's
Like,
like, you
you're
can't
just
say that and walk
right.
away.
You're just going to say that and then you're going to leave. And then so I just continued asking him questions like, oh, why did you decide to, because he actually joined our team when I was on my honeymoon. So I didn't get his orientation. I didn't get his first set, but I've been coaching him the last 2 years. And so we had that story and I said, do you mind if I put a microphone on you and ask you some questions about how this training has benefited you? And he was totally open to doing it. And he did it. I just cut it up and put it out online. And we'd had other videos get 200 views, 300 views, 1,000 views. This had 6,000 views. And I was like, so my thought was other people must be connecting to this to watch it and share it and like it and for it to be pop. And again, 6,000 views is not like a lot of, I'm not trying to like brag that we make incredible
Oh, yeah,
content,
yeah.
but the fact that it was impactful to many people, right? If you get 6,000 people in a room to tell that story to, that would be incredible. So I think about it like that. Okay, 6,000 people connected with this. Well, what other stories do these members have that other people would connect with? So then I grabbed Giovanni, who trains at 6 a.m. And I said, I asked her some questions, find out she's a mother of 7 and is battling some depression because she just turned 50, battling some depression. And she's like, this is what I need. This feels good. This feels good for me. This has been great for my mental health. I know I need to get strong. Menopause, post-menopause. I know I need to train during menopause, and I need to show my kids as they get older, my 7 kids, this is how you need to live your life. And I'm 50 years old and doing this at a high level.
Mhm.
And that blows up because people are like, oh my gosh, that's another person like me. And so all of our members have these incredible stories. And this is their hour to come in and get whatever they have off their chest. Whatever's
Mhm.
bothering them, they get to go lift some weight and throw some med balls around and lift heavy. Like, do the things that people on social media and people online and people in marketing for fitness and health gyms are telling them not to do. And that's come in and work really hard and lift heavy weight. And they feel good. And then now they're going to their doctors, and their doctors are telling them this happened also. Hey, I know you've been on depression medication for the last 10 to 12 years. You no longer need it. You tell me you feel great. You said this is the best you've ever felt. All your biomarkers and your blood numbers are working out well. You don't need to take this depression medication anymore. And these things are happening, bro, in real time, in front of us, in real life, lifting weights. And it's all happening because the culture that we are creating and we're putting them in, and we're saying, be scared to lift this weight. And then they go lift it and then see what happens on the other side. And it's been what I am the most proud of since opening our facility, outside of the team that we've built, outside of Preston and Spencer and Bella and Ahmed and Liana and Kylan and everybody who's been there since day one. Again, you being a part of that is what I'm most proud of. The thing that I'm second most proud of is the impact that we've been able to have on the adult population, when most facilities are saying, don't go heavy, go light, only go for 30 seconds, rotate to the next exercise, don't progressively overload, don't use compound
Yeah.
movements, don't you ever touch a barbell, you're going to get hurt.
Or you wanna just get toned.
Yeah, you need to get toned. Jump at 50? Are you crazy? You need to stay on the ground. And we got these dudes doing triple broad jumps. We got them doing single legs box jumps. We have people expressing athleticism and power and strength and speed at a high level every single day in real life. And then they go out and people think they're crazy. Wait, you did what? You trained at 6 a.m. and you did what? You worked to a 1 rep max back squat, and then you push sleds for conditioning? Oh, you're crazy. I could never do that. I know you could never do that. That's why you're not doing it. And that's why I'm doing it. And that's how
Mhm.
every single member who comes in at 6 a.m. thinks when they train. And I get to sit back and guide them in that direction and celebrate every victory. Dude, it is the best. I'm so happy you brought that up.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw it, and I'm like, listening to some of these stories, and I'm like, "Thi th let me come and just sit and watch this training
Yes,
session," or
dude.
one of them, 'cause it inspires me. I'm like, "Man, I'm lazy." Even though I'm not lazy, it makes me feel lazy in the moment. I'm like, "Man, I'm on my phone looking at this.
Right,
I
right,
need to
right.
get in the gym." So, I had to bring it up because it's something
Yeah,
that T3 does such a good job at, and you guys have a pretty good marketing strategy too on how you just put that out there on Instagram, and
yeah.
I think you do Facebook too, or
Yeah, yeah. We're on Instagram, T3 Beachwood, and then Facebook. We've got a Facebook page.
Okay, okay.
But again, it's like I'm just so proud of these people, and I know that they have such an impact on me on a daily basis. Is I don't have to do anything to create content. I just put a camera in their face and ask them about the things that they've told me about, and they're courageous enough to open up and share their story and not care what people are going to think. And it's so powerful. And what's funny is I do look into now research and analytics on social media and how to improve these things.
Mhm.
And nowhere does it say you'll get great testimonials if you just train the shit out of these individuals. Pour into them, coach, everything that you have. If it's 10% of what you have, if it's 100% of what you have, pour everything you have into these people every single day. Lead with your heart, make the decision with your heart, and pour into them. Them changing their life will give you so much goodwill in your own life that all we do in the morning at that time from 6 to 7, outside of the things we talked about, is high five and dap people up and support people and tell them how great they're doing. And all of these things. And people will tell me, we had a guy, a very, very dear friend of mine now. I've been working with him for maybe 3 months. He came and he trained in our group. And after 45 minutes, he came up to me and he's like, I don't know what it is about this group, but sign me up for a year. Cause he could just feel
Awesome.
it. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
like, I don't necessarily know what it is. I can't say it's the programming. I can't say it's the coach. I can't say it's the facility. I don't know exactly what it is. But he was like, I am gonna be here at least for a year because I can feel it.
It's the energy in the air, man.
And that's when I was like, I said, bro, that's exactly what we've been trying to do.
It's the T3 culture.
Man. And that's why I'm so proud of it.
I need to come and work out with that group at least once. At least once.
Dude, I'm telling you,
Like,
it's a
even
it's a great time.
yeah, and I've met, I mean, Gilbert, man. I'm friends with
Yeah.
Gilbert now. Gilbert is unbelievable. He shows up every single time, and when I'm there, I dab him up, he dabs me up, he's like, "Yo, I'm going for a 1 rep max today on
Yeah.
incline bench." I'm like, "I'll spot you, let's do this." So, it fires me
Yeah.
up, man. I love that group. I love that whole atmosphere, that whole energy, what you were talking about. And going back to that topic of you talked about the woman with was it postpartum depression
Yeah.
or menopause?
Yeah.
Menopause is what it
Menopause.
was.
Yep.
And how sh was it her that didn't need the meds anymore, the depression meds, or was that
So,
somebody
so
else?
that was somebody else, but I'm sure similar story.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, they actually I listened to this on, like, a Huberman. I don't know if you know Huberman, the podcast. Yeah. Crazy science nerd up. I'm it's kind of above my level, but it's still interesting to hear what he talks about, but
Totally.
there was some
Above
studies
most
done.
above most regular humans levels.
No, yeah, for
Nobody
sure.
understands things the way he does. Yeah.
No, yeah. But he talked about how the more people that are in the gym actually don't need therapy. The more people are getting pulled out of therapy because the gym provides some sort of stimulus and some sort of real dopamine and, like, not fake by any means as in, like, alcohol, which is like a depressant, cigarettes, vaping, stuff like that, that provides, quote unquote, like, fake dopamine and fake, I think it's serotonin was the other hormone that's emitted, but he says when you go to the gym or you go on a run, like, your serotonin, your dopamine, you're chasing real feeling, and for me, especially, when I go to the gym, I don't want nobody to talk to me. If it's a personal lift and I'm going for something really heavy, I'm like, "Touch me, don't talk to me." I'm gonna go for it, and then I've been doing a lot of, like, no headphone lifts. They've been great because you go through a really hard set and it's all about you. You don't have any music pushing you. It's just all you. It's all you went for it. Like today I squatted like I think it was 465 for 3 and I was so scared
Sheesh.
to get on the under that bar and do it without any music, without anything, and I did it. It was hard, but I did it. But just going back to the feeling of that's my break. That workout, if I got something going on in my life, if I got problems, if I got some issues, I work it out with the gym. I work it out with cardio in the morning when I go for a walk or even a jog sometimes. I'm thinking of maybe training for like a half marathon next year, something completely out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna be running here shortly, but just simple things like that. I love the story and I love these stories of all these people you're talking about because it's just everyday people like us. People can achieve
Right.
these things. They just have to take the first step. And I feel like everybody at T3 has taken the step. And because they were afraid obviously to take the first step, but when they did, they were better for it. So It's just unbelievable, man. I could go on and on about this stuff.
Yeah, man, the work works. The hard part is getting people to commit to the work. But there's no, I guess the way around it would be medicating, would be using, like you said, channeling it somewhere else into alcohol, into these other things. And okay, that is a way around it. But what's been cool about this, I mean, kind of absurd science approach to this thing that started with just like rocks and the human being picking and moving things
Hmm.
up and around and throwing them, right? It's like that's where it started. And now we've got like skinny nerds like on force plates, like trying to figure out people's RS. Like it's crazy where we've gotten.
Yeah,
But
there's a
what is cool
yeah.
is we've been able to now see those things, that we have objective data that shows exercise and fitness and health is more beneficial for things like depression than any depression medication that can be prescribed. But again, it's hard to sell, having to go out of your way to make things hard, to use discretionary time, to challenge yourself past places that you've been challenged at before, and to make decisions that are crummy in the short term, but will hopefully eventually lead to long term benefits. I mean, I get why people don't train.
Hmm.
I empathize. I totally understand. But once you do, and once you get into it and you start to feel it, and you start to see it, that's like what you're saying, Ryan, is that's when you have those massive changes. And again, identity changes. I now no longer need this, and I put my energy into this health and fitness
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
water and sleep and these things. I mean, it's just fascinating. But again, it's hard, man. It's
Yeah,
hard.
taking the first step is the hardest thing somebody can do in any aspect. Doesn't have to be just training. I've been trying to get my dad in the gym for feels like years now,
Mm-hmm.
but at this point, I might buy him a couple packs for T3 stuff for Christmas and have him just train
Yeah.
with you guys because he's he's had some injuries in the past, and it's things like you said. You empathize with people that they don't want to train, and he doesn't want to train because he doesn't want to re-injure himself and things like that because he was a big sports player and all that. Same with my mom. My mom's got a heart condition and she can't work out as much as she used to. She used to run a bunch of marathons, so it's been hard for her. I might enroll them both in that program. That'd be freaking sweet, and then I'll join
Yeah.
them.
Well, dude, let me send you. I did a talk called the Longevity Blueprint, where I basically
Oh yeah, I saw something about that.
broke
Yeah.
down like what we do in training and
Mhm.
how it is beneficial for longevity. And I talk about recovering from injuries and different approaches that we take to ensure that individuals are getting better and not going the opposite way. I use a lot of PT philosophies, physical therapy
Mhm.
philosophies in our training with ISOs and you know, kind of gradual exposure to ranges of motion, do all of these hop variations and these hold variations that are helpful in rehab. And I'll send you that. And that would be cool for them to be able to watch, just to know that, what's to say that it's not burn boot camp that you're sending them to. And no disrespect to burn boot camp, but it's different than what we do. So I've had actually some success with people watching that and understanding, oh, there's some truth behind what he's doing. We've got social proof. We've got people saying, I've recovered from injuries. I've gotten over depression. I've gotten stronger. My back feels better. It's been tight for 2 years. I have no more knee pain. We have people saying all of those things. So
Mhm.
I'll send that to you. And that would be cool if they listen to that. Cause again, it kind of qualifies us a bit to know that we're talking about what we're actually doing what we're talking about.
Yeah. I'd love that. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Alright, I do have one final question for you. I think it's a great question 'cause, uh, I have an answer to it myself, but it took me a while to kind of find an answer for it, and
Oh boy.
it's one of
Okay. And
the
I get 10 seconds to answer
No, 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 you're take as much time as you need.
it.
I sent this to you ahead of time because I
Mm.
knew, it should be that last question. If you could go back and tell your younger self, high school, middle school, elementary school even, if you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing, what would you tell them?
When I read that question, I thought exactly what you said to preface that question. that I have thought about this for a long time at many different points in my life, at many different points in my career. And I do believe I have an answer now. So I'm glad that you had given me kind of a heads up about it. First
Oh
of all,
yeah,
I've,
that'd have
I've,
been tough to answer
yeah,
straight up because I know if I had that question, I'd be like, oh, give me like 20 minutes
yeah,
at least. So yeah.
yeah. So I have to start by saying younger me would not have listened to 38-year-old me. So even if I had said this, I don't know if it would have been able to make an impact on me. I think I would have had to learn these things the hard way. I think you have to go through certain situations to be able to learn things about yourself, to be able to, like we've mentioned a couple times, become the person who you're ultimately supposed to become. You need to get through fear. You need to get through the flood. You need to get through challenges and trials and tribulations, and you need to be tested over and over and over again. And you just need to harden consistently and mold consistently into this person who you are meant to become, and ultimately the person the person you're supposed to be during your time here on earth. So it would have been hard for me to hear these things then because I don't know if it would have made much of an impact. But the first thing that comes to my mind is stand up for yourself. And I don't necessarily have regrets in the past about not doing it, but I had I have always for the longest time considered myself a team first player. I had always put team above self. I had put team above personal health. And I had people in my corner, family members, loved ones, say things like, you need to stand up to that. You know your value. You need to bring that to the table. And I've said, nope, nope, it's better for the team if I don't. It's better if I don't bring resistance. I don't want to throw off the culture. I don't want to make the coach mad. All of these things. And I'm finally to a point now that I recognize my value. And it took me a really long time to recognize that. And now that I finally do, I would love to go back to the unconfident, unselfish, shy, slightly introverted variation of myself and say, bro, you're worth something. I know you don't feel it right now, but you're worth something. Every step that you're taking every day, going in that right direction, is going to make you incredibly valuable and become a person who can have a massive impact on a lot of people. But throughout this time, you're going to be given challenges where you can either step up and stand up and be a leader, or you can go to the back and use the excuse that you're a team first guy when really it's fear and you're scared to speak up for yourself. And I'm to the point now where I know my value. I know my skill set. I know what I bring to the table in every setting. And I have to constantly remind myself to stand up for what you believe, because I've been able to prove to myself over and over again for the last 38 years that what I believe has value and what I bring is value. And in any room, I deserve to be in there. However I got in there, if I snuck in, if I got invited in, if I skydove in through the roof, I deserve to be in that room, and I need to show that I provide value. And that's since I've been living that way, really since we opened 2.5 years ago. And even more recently, let's say the last 18 months, even closer to the year, once I had a daughter, was I've gotten some kickback from it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a second. Well, you actually don't think. It's like, no, I do think this. And I know this. And I know this would be the outcome. And I know that this is why I'm here. And again, I could have heard that at 21 on the team in Indiana and it not meant anything to me. And I would have said,
Mm.
I'll do it when it's necessary. But then I would have gone through a situation that I did at Indiana where I didn't speak up for myself and had held a grudge for almost 10 years into my playing career because I didn't speak up for myself when I should have spoke up for myself. And then it happened again towards the end of my playing career. And I didn't speak up because I'm a team player, when really I'm hiding behind the fear that comes along with what happens if I do.
Yeah. The fear of
And
success almost.
that's the perfect way to put it. What if it does work out in the way that I want it to? Then what? Because that's a better frame than saying, what if it doesn't? Because it definitely won't if I don't say anything. So I would say, bro, stand up for yourself. You are valuable. And people know that.
Yeah. Mine was relatively similar, but it's a little more towards the fact that I feel now that I'm turning, I'm 20 now, still a youngin' kinda,
Mhm.
but I'm turning 21 next year, and it's just saying that out loud, I'm, like, kinda cringing. I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm 21. I'm gonna be 21." I'm not comfortable with it. I would probably go back and tell myself that you're gonna be okay, but hang on to everything that you have right now, because in about, let's say I'm talking to a 10-year-old, 12-year-old self, in another 6 years or so, your life's gonna pick up very fast. I mean, you knew during the summer what I was doing. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff, and school was going nuts, before that, and, there was no really good transition. It was right into the next thing, right into the next thing, right into the next thing, and that's how life goes. We are always going to the next phase or next chapter, and a lot of the times, we don't get a lot of time to slow down. We don't get a lot of time to process it. It just kinda happens. Now, there are some phases of life like you and your wife having your daughter, obviously, that's something where that's a whole new chapter. That's something that you have brought on, and it's new, and it's exciting, it's fulfilling, but it's stressful. It's another phase, and I would probably tell myself, "Enjoy not having a phase yet." Because
Yeah.
by this point, I'm not in a phase. I'm in a developmental kinda learning who I kinda still am, kinda enjoying life. I would say right now I'm enjoying life, I'm trying to live it to the fullest, and I'm doing all these things, but there is a lack of time to myself sometimes. So, I would probably tell myself, "Enjoy it while you can." I mean, we're not here very long, you
Right.
know? If I live to be 100, fantastic, but I'm already 21. I feel like just yesterday I was 12. When I turned
Right.
20, I was like, "Mom, I'm not turning 20 today. I'm turning 10. I don't wanna be 20. I don't wanna give up my teenage years.
Right.
I'm a junior in college." Like, these things are going so fast. My parents told me, "Do well in school, do well in college," because high school went fast. College is going way faster, and maybe I'll be in grad school. Maybe I'm gonna go to the next thing and the next thing, have a family, maybe eventually get married, move to a different state. I don't know. I would tell myself just to slow down. Enjoy playing with your Legos. Enjoy the family time, because I don't get a lot of family time now. And I'm sure you struggle with the same thing. You're a busy guy. You get it. You just had a child. I mean, you're trying to manage all the stresses of life. Like, I'm clearly not there yet, and you got a whole 'nother bridge on me, but man, I mean, just slow down every once in a while. I mean, spend time with people that you love. And I would just go back in time, like, just cherish it while it is.
Yeah.
Cherish it while it lasts. That's probably what I would tell my younger self.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tie this up with a story from my sister.
Okay.
And my oldest nephew's 15, my youngest nephew's 5, and we've got an 11-year-old niece in there. And when my nephew and my niece were born, it was the being an uncle was the coolest thing I'd ever done. And I played football in the Big Ten. I'd been a professional athlete. I'd done stunts in movies, traveled the world. I've done plenty of things, lived tons of lives. Being an uncle was the coolest thing I'd ever done. She pulled me to the side one day and she said, "Hey, I really appreciate you not being on your phone the whole time you were with my kids." And I thought, "Oh, for sure." And I said,
Yeah.
"Nothing's more important than I don't know why I would be on my phone anyway." And she was like, "You'd be surprised, but I appreciate you not being on your phone." And I say that because everything now is so sped up intentionally. It's get to the next thing. It's achieve this next goal. It's scroll to the next video to see what this
Mhm.
person's saying, to scroll to the next video. And like you're saying, all we have to do is remove ourselves from that and step out of the matrix for just a second and look around and think, Man, I'm 20. This is pretty cool. Look what I have.
Mhm.
I have a body that's able to literally transform in exactly the way and shape that I want it to. And it's able to move all of this weight, and it's able to move fast, and it's able to get me from place to place. And I have this vehicle that also gets me from somewhere. If I don't want to be here, I can go somewhere else in minutes. And I have, let's say I'm not by my family, I haven't seen them for a while. I have this thing that I'm saying to get away from, but I can just call them and I can see them.
Mhm.
And I think we've got so many times throughout the day that we can just stop and be present, but because we're always focused on the next thing, we're not. And that's the biggest thing that having a daughter taught me was nothing, literally nothing else is important as her. Doesn't even come close. Do we have a athlete texting us? Do we have somebody complaining about something going on? Is there an issue? Is there a money issue? What's going on with the bank? Hey, is the mortgage paid? It's like none of that is important as her. So if you can just take seconds out of your day to put the phone down and be like, dude, I'm 20. This is sick. I have all these opportunities ahead of me. I don't know where they're going to take me, but I'm grateful to be in this moment right now. I think that would do plenty good and be able to help.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, like, it's kinda minor, I guess, but it's the no headphone thing like I touched on.
Yeah.
Not just in training, but just in general, like, not putting my headphones in when I'm walking to class, when I'm walking home, driving home, like, sometimes I
Oh,
just
that's
drive in
good.
silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you really get a grasp for, you know, we have snow everywhere. I need to be aware of driving, that too, but, noticing like, there's a cherry tree on campus, it's beautiful, and it's got snow on it, like, simple things like that. The sky is blue, I'm looking up at the sky. Our campus is beautiful, but when I walk past some of these people, it actually sometimes it angers me because they're staring down, and they're looking at their phone, or they're looking at something, I'm like, "Look up, look up."
Right.
There's so much to the world than just there's so much more to the world than just the thing in your hand. And I've seen people recreate, like, videos where they replace the phone with nothing, like, you're just staring at your hand,
Oh, yeah.
or I don't know, they replace it with different objects, like, it could be, like, a water bottle, or it could be something. They'll make videos like that, and it just goes to show you that we spend so much time on our phones, and it's just not what life's all about. Life is
Right.
about the people you meet, people you interact with, the people that you love, the people that are in your life. It also the other side is your goals, your aspirations, what you want to do in this life, what God gives you, your abilities, that when you come out the womb, like he gives you these qualities, you just have to go and discover them for yourself. And the people around you, the people who you surround yourself with are going to get you there. But if you're
Mhm.
on your phone and you're not present, you're going to miss it. I mean, Ferris Bueller said it in his movie. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he's like, "If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you're gonna miss it." And he's
Right.
totally right. He's totally right. You're gonna miss it if you're on your phone, if you're avoiding something that is challenging, you're avoiding people, that's the thing I struggle with now is I sometimes avoid people to work on myself, but when in reality, if I let more people in, the right people in, obviously, that's only gonna help me. That's only gonna promote my development. So I just went on a rant right there, but I don't know. I don't know where I
It's
lost my
great.
train of thought,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, I
yeah, yeah.
it's great, man. I've never heard anybody say, "Damn, I wish I was on social media more."
Right, you
I've
don't
never
hear
heard,
that ever.
but
Yeah,
plenty of people, man, I just wish I was present more. I wish I paid attention. I wish I went to the concert and didn't record every single song that was
right. You just
sang
sat there and enjoyed
because
it.
and then watched it back. Why don't I just watch it? And it's like those are the moments, man.
You're like, it's your brain is your Apple or Android photo library. Fill it,
Right.
fill it. Sure, you might get dementia when you're older, but it's all worth it. You
Right.
store all that in here. Your brain is your own photo library.
Right.
You just gotta I don't know, you just gotta be more present, man. That's I love this topic. You can tell I love this
Yeah.
topic, but
Heck yeah.
because I feel that my generation especially, You know, you got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There's all these social media apps, and there's like what's it called? The algorithm. So they
Mm-hmm.
show things that you like, and it's made to keep you on there. So
Right.
I don't know. Just
I
like, go ahead, go ahead.
I really do think, man, sometime and sometime soon, people are going to be craving human interaction and
Hmm.
real life experience. And I think people are going to start, and we might already be kind of seeing it, but like, I think people are going to get away from it because obviously 2020, everybody, that's all you did. And now, like you said, people were caught in an algorithm. Social media apps are perfect. They're what they're supposed to do. They're amazing. The smartest people in the world are making it fit exactly what I need to look at. And then just something a little bit off to the side that might catch my gaze to get me to be on there a little longer to watch that stuff. And then mine's going to be completely different than yours. I mean, it's like they won, they have it figured out. But I think we're starting to catch on, like we're starting to see when it says every Sunday at noon, when your phone sends you a message and says, you've been on screen time 7 hours and 2 minutes of average every day this week. And you're like, what?
My
And
gosh.
you're like, what
Yeah.
did I do? I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't do
Hmm.
anything in that
Yep.
amount of time every single day. I think people are gonna crave that. And I think people are gonna stop bringing their phones into restaurants. I think you're gonna start seeing people stop bringing phones into bars and places when they go out, concerts and shows like that, because I think people want that connection. And it might not be 2026, it might not be 2027, but I think it's going to be your age group, like your generation, your people who are going to do it because you've grown up with it your whole lives. I didn't grow up with it early on, right? So it's like I don't know. I just don't. I don't have to be on it all the time. I am, but I don't have to because I don't know anything about it. You guys have known it for forever.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be you guys who push back.
I'm
Somebody's going to be
hoping.
like, I don't need this. I can go out to eat and sit at a bar and talk to the person next to me. I'm
Yeah.
scared.
Hmm.
It's fearful, but it's going to be the thing that I'm going to learn from and grow from. And so I have faith that that will happen.
I'm hoping our generation does a 360. It reminds me of COVID almost because that was the most alone I've ever felt.
Mm.
Doing online school was like the worst thing ever. I couldn't pay attention to anything they were teaching on screen. I constantly had my phone with me. I was watching, like, my screen time during COVID was awful. And I'm sure
Everybody's was.
a lot of people's was because, that you don't have a lot to do. You're stuck in your house. So, especially now, when I set like a screen time limit, because I'm like, yeah, you can go on it if you earn it. My thing is you have to earn it. If I'm studying and I've studied for 2+ hours, yeah, I could I can look at it for a little bit. Set a little time limit, maybe 15 minutes.
Take a
But
little
like,
brain break. Yeah.
right, yeah. But it gets to a point where it'll suck you in. That's why I put a timer on because I'm like, it'll suck you in because it will do that. But yeah, what you said just really triggered the COVID trauma. I was like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
not again. I
I
don't
bet,
want to
dude.
revisit that.
Oh,
Yeah.
can't imagine what you guys had to go through going through school. No way, dude. No way.
I mean, it was hard on everybody though. What sucked was I know like seniors in high school. I was going into my sophomore year as a freshman, something like that. Yeah, it was like a end of year freshman. There were seniors that were graduating. They didn't get to walk. They didn't get to graduate. Things like that. Especially like college graduates. That's even worse. School wise, it was bad, but for me it was we see the lack of communication. Like you go to school and you see all these people and you're, hey, I know you. Hey, I know
Hmm.
you. But when you are in your house for X amount of months, you see who actually cares about you. You see the people that you actually care about and who are willing to reach out to. That happened when I graduated high school, went off to college. Everybody goes their separate ways, and you lose contact with, I would say, 85% of the people that you hung out with. Yeah, I only keep in touch with, like, maybe 5 or 6 people
Yeah.
because I truly care about them and they truly care about me. It might not be every week or day that we talk, but it's every month or so we'll check in and we'll
Hmm.
say hi. So, just the relationships we build, they're probably one of the most important things to our individual lives, I think.
Yep. Things what keeps you alive.
Yep.
Relationships, man.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, CT, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got early morning. I got early morning. Don't want to keep you here.
I would do this again, man. Give you as much time as you need, bro. This was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for bringing up some memories, some things that I haven't thought about in a long time. You know, high school CT and what was happening back then, and even college football and all that stuff. So it's always fun to kind of reminisce on that. And again, if I was able to help anybody along their process, man, that again is what I think what I'm here for. So thanks for having me on, dude. It was my absolute pleasure.
Of course. Appreciate you, man.
You got it, brother.